month off to write this concerto, and he wrote a concerto for Christian McBride, specifically for Christian, the bass player Christian McBride.
Well, you know, for 10 years, Mitch and George and myself have been speaking about this piece, a bass concerto that George was going to compose for me in the SJO. And finally we did it in 2011, and it was a dream come true to be able to play a piece written by George Duke standing in front of this great orchestra. And immediately after the performance, we knew we had to get this recorded right away.
The title of the album, Looking Forward, Looking Back, is an idea George came up with. This is back in 2012. We had just finished premiering the piece that George had written for Christian McBride and the orchestra. And as we started pre-production, this is early 2013, we're looking at budgets and timelines. Sadly, that's the summer when we lost George. So the album then took on much more meaning. And we worked really hard to raise the money needed so that we could record and make this album a tribute to George and honor his legacy.
It was an Indiegogo funded project. There wasn't a lot of money to bring this to fruition.
Definitely want to thank everybody, you know, that contributed to the Indiegogo campaign and made it happen.
The first piece on the album is George's commission. It's called Dark Wood, Bass Concerto for McBride. And I said, George, just write something, just has to do two things. Has to start with Christian on the upright bass, a little arco, a little pizzicato, and then it has to end with him on the electric. Beyond that, go to town. I was hoping for maybe a 12-minute piece, 13-minute piece. He is so busy. He's on the road, he's producing all the time. And it turned out to be this 23-minute epic concerto. It's a brilliant work, far beyond any of my expectations. And it is a tour de force for Christian, because he is playing literally notes that are not on the instrument. The second work on the album is a piece called Symphonic Captain's Journey. It's a piece by Lee Ritenour, the guitarist and composer. This piece is also in two movements. It starts with what he calls calm, followed by storm. And those are pretty self-explanatory pieces. Lee is joined on this recording by a great, amazing friend, colleague, pianist, Dave Grusin, along with a rhythm section that included Christian McBride on the bass and Chris Coleman, a wonderful young drummer, rounding out the rhythm section. And the final piece on the recording is George Gershwin's Rhapsody in Blue. This all began in 1924. Gershwin wrote this piece about 3 weeks, and literally it was lightning in a bottle. The piece was written so fast, Gershwin never finished his own solo part. So we were thrilled to have a wonderful soloist, Bill Cunliffe, join us.
One kind of innovation that we did with this piece is we introduced a jazz trio into the performance. And we got to use the great Peter Erskine and the great Bob Hurst as my trio members. And we created some sections of the piece that use Gershwin's melodies and themes, but we do a bit of improvisation in the bass, drums, and piano.
And what we got to do is go back to that original version, which most people don't know. But in that original 1924 version, it was only about 28 players, including a banjo. Gershwin was literally flying by the seat of his pants during that performance. So we put some of that back in with Bill Cunliffe. So a lot of the things you hear are things you never heard before.
Well, recording 67 people live was fantastic. It was fun. It was great. It was exciting. Very difficult thing to do, to have a drum kit in the middle of an orchestra. But that's what we did.
Recordings like this are pretty rare. Symphonic jazz pieces are not recorded very often. This is a very expensive proposition, a very difficult, technically challenging proposition. So we are so thrilled that we're able to get this piece and this product done. We're happy to be part of the Mac Avenue family now. We're so thrilled to bring you Looking Forward, Looking Back.